A bipartisan budget compromise that sailed through the House of Representatives last week faces an uncertain future in the U.S. Senate. Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin saying that right now they lack the votes to pass the bill. This after House Speaker John Boehner slammed conservative political groups who denounced the compromise as soon as it was reached. Take a listen.
I came here to cut the size of government. That's exactly what this bill does. And why conservatives wouldn't vote for this or criticize the bill is beyond any recognition I could come up with. There just comes to a point when some people step over the line. You know, when you criticize something and you have no idea what you're criticizing, it undermines your credibility.
You can feel the anger there, huh? Let's bring in our political insiders. John LeBoutillier, former Republican congressman for New York. Pat Caddell, former pollster for President Jimmy Carter. Fox News contributor. Doug Schoen, former pollster for Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor as well. Well, you know, John, he was really unloading on the influence of the Tea Party and other conservative groups, right?
Yeah, he's been chafing, since 2011 when he tried to do a grand bargain with Obama during the debt ceiling fight, and the conservatives in the House wouldn't let Boehner do it. They've sort of hamstrung him the whole way until this thing, and he feels unshackled from them now. But the problem is it's now a civil war in the Republican Party between the establishment and the Tea Party.
Well, the conservatives, Doug, really forced the recent government shutdown, but Boehner seems to have a bit more strength now.
He does, because bottom line, politics is about winning and losing. And the one result of the shutdown is the Republicans went from being in a commanding political position, Gregg, to being behind the Democrats. Now, that's all turned around because of Obamacare, but politicians have long enough memories to remember what happened when the government was closed, who was blamed.
Well, and Congressman Paul Ryan, who's very powerful, and of course was the GOP vice presidential nominee, and helped negotiate this deal with Patty Murray in the U.S. Senate, a Democrat. He looks at the long view, Pat. Let's play a soundbite of Paul Ryan and get your reaction to this. Take a listen.
I was part of the last presidential election. We tried defeating this president. I wish we would have. Elections have consequences, Mr. Speaker. And I fundamentally believe, this is just my personal opinion, I know it's a slightly partisan thing to say, to really do what we think needs to be done, we're going to have to win some elections. And in the meantime, let's try and make this divided government work.
What's he saying, Pat? Let's not Republicans shoot ourselves in the foot again.
Let's not have that disaster we had in, in the end of the beginning of October with the shutdown, because, as Doug said, their numbers went to Hades in a handbasket, basically. And look, the problem is, though, is that the conservatives do have one point to make, which is there's no deficit cutting here. There is no real spending cutting. It's very minor. And, the Democrats in the Senate are unhappy over unemployment, whatever. But look, they want to get the focus off of budget and on to Obamacare. But the problem is they still have no positive message. That is not, but they don't want to look totally obstructionist.
John, do they need a message, or do they need to sit on their hands and let Democrats through Obamacare melt down?
Well, this agreement for Boehner is that it's clear the decks. We will not be the center of the story anymore. We won't let these yahoos close the government down. We'll let Obama and the Democrats commit mass suicide with Obamacare. That's what he's thinking. But by 2014, by November, the Republicans are going to need to be able to answer this question. If the Democrats are thrown out, what are you going to do to fix this mess of Obamacare?
Well, they got a lot of months to figure that out, if that happens. Well, let's talk about Obamacare, because it really is the top news story day after day, because every day brings a new problem or debacle for the White House. And take a look at the president's approval, the Obamacare approval rating, 36%. This is the Real Clear Politics average. 52% disapprove of Obamacare. And let's roll to the Wall Street Journal NBC poll on Obamacare. This is just the uninsured. is the health care law a good or bad idea? 34% of the uninsured say good idea. 50% say it's a bad idea.
That switched in a month.
Oh, it has?
Yes. There were only 34% who actually thought it was a bad idea a month ago. They're up at 50% now.
Right. And here's the bottom line on the politics of it, Gregg. As John was suggesting, if 36% are positive and 34%, as Pat suggests, say it's a good idea, that is enough, as Pat and I predicted 3 years ago, to give the Republicans the Senate. What they have concluded, and I've got this from another one of my bundlers, is Mitch McConnell is going to run a totally negative campaign and believes that will take him to victory.
You know, John, PolitiFact awarded the President of the United States the Lie of the Year for his infamous promise, if you like your plan, you get to keep your plan. Our tally so far is 5.9 plans have been canceled, but each plan has an average of 3 people. So you're really talking about 18 million people who have lost their plans.
Yeah, with predictions of up to 50 to 100 million people by October will be thrown off through plans coming up.
The
from small
employer-sponsored
business.
plans.
Yeah. This is devastating to the Democrats. On a tactical level, the Republicans can sit around and just watch the Democrats die because of Obamacare. The question is, will the Democrats, in the Senate especially, finally say by February, we're going to get creamed. We got to do something now, like stop the thing, change it, fix it. Yeah.
And that's where the challenge for the Republicans comes. But look, this gets worse and worse all the time. Now it's affecting doctors. The pricing is going through this roof.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the hospitals, you don't get
security of the data.
Security data. There was no security on the data. You know, and the young people are really freaked about that.
22% in a poll say they will enroll, but a huge majority say we're not going to have anything to do with this.
No, that's even the uninsured are unhappy. This is what happens when you in an advertising known as brand damage, and it gets worse. You're going. They're working uphill. The problem for the Democrats in the Senate is what John said. When are they going to bolt? And I keep arguing the Republicans have got to look like, hey, you know, we're for reasonable things and we make changes. We've argued that all.
Even the mainstream media is now saying to the White House and the president, you guys are living in a dream world. It was yesterday the White House bragging about the fixes. Well, today's New York Times says, according to insurance company, it's utter nonsense. This thing is just reeks of problems.
Yeah, and I saw the same piece, and bottom line, the insurance companies are pushing back and saying there are even more problems with the transmission and the actual implementation of the plan than the White House has acknowledged. Bottom line, this is a ticking time bomb. But Gregg, let me underscore what my colleagues Pat and John have said. Unless the Republicans can improve their numbers, they will not get the gains that they stand to get in the 2014 election.
And you only improve your numbers 2 ways. In the old way, it's like a seesaw. Democrats go down, Republicans would go up. It's not happening anymore. They're both down. So the only way the Republicans can go up is by doing what we just said. Talk positively about how you would fix it. Don't go blasting Obama all the time.
Allow people to buy insurance across state lines, tort reform, tax incentives,
portability.
Choice. There's a lot of stuff. But they need a comprehensive plan.
What they need is a party plan. Yes, people have introduced bits and pieces, but until you have the Republican Congress say, this is our plan, we all sign off on it. I mean, really, that's what they need. But I'll tell you what, this is a rolling disaster.
Hold your thoughts. Gentlemen, where is the conversation about all of the scandals that have plagued the Obama White House, the NSA, the IRS, Fast and Furious, Benghazi? John?
I think this goes to what we should have said in the first segment about Speaker Boehner. He's dropped the ball on these things. They're not aggressively pursuing them. Now, the Benghazi one, which is not political, it's death and wounding of Americans and a terrorist act. We have 177 Republicans have signed legislation for a select committee, and the Speaker ignores it.
Look, you have 2/3 of the country that believes we need a select committee, or 60%, including half the Democrats, to find out the truth. It never goes away. The IRS, they're going after conservative groups again. People really, and it's a key to Obamacare. Here's the problem. When they have Obama on the ropes, you look at the Republicans, they don't know how to finish a kill. With him on the ropes on Obamacare, that's when these things would really kill him.
Does Boehner,
But they surrendered.
Doug, does Boehner think, look, We've got Obamacare. Let's just focus our attention on that. Otherwise, we'll get blamed for trying to politicize things like Benghazi and IRS.
Well, he may think that, he may not. He hasn't been particularly clear. But the bottom line is there is an abdication of responsibility, I think, from the Republicans to follow things through. The other place where there's an abdication is on foreign policy. American leadership in the world is receding, whether it be in China, Iran, or in the Ukrainian situation. Bottom line, the Russians, the Chinese have the initiative, and we are on our back foot.
I think they perceived this president already as a lame duck and weak, and they are probing and pushing, and they're getting away with it. A no-fly zone here, Putin paying off the Ukrainians not to join the EU,
right.
The Middle East, the Iranian thing. Yeah.
Giving the right to enrich uranium to the
Pat,
Iranians.
is this a feckless foreign policy?
Absolutely. This administration has basically, whatever the words leading from behind, has become worse than that. What it is we have no foreign policy. We're desperate for an agreement. Iran was desperation to sign an agreement for anything. I call it a mini Munich. I mean, it was like they're still enriching. They still have nuclear weapons. The Chinese are running over us, the Russians. And then you saw the entire display in South Africa this week.
It's not as serious. I don't think, and my God, the guy won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's sitting there at this great man's memorial service, yucking it up, taking a photograph. Now, would FDR have done that?
Yeah,
would Reagan have done that? I don't think so.
The Dutch Prime Minister and
and
Cameron, the Prime Minister of Great Britain.
They look pathetic.
And look at Michelle Obama. Doesn't appear to be terribly happy with what's going on to her right.
I think she knows what we just said, that this is not statesmanlike.
Yeah. In the Congress, even Democrats are threatening to try to kill the Iran deal by escalating sanctions instead of reducing sanctions, which is the Obama deal.
That's correct, because Democrats understand that in the Iranian deal, it makes us look weak. We lose a core part of the Democratic constituency, Jewish voters who are key contributors, and bottom line, Schumer and Menendez, who've hardly been opponents of Obama, in fact, they've been loyal supporters, are among the most outspoken. The real question is, will they follow through and up the sanctions, up the ante? That remains to be seen.
Well, the Republicans press them on this.
Yeah.
The Republicans have been very late on foreign policy. These are big things. And Iran, the problem there is we got nothing about stopping the enrichment. You know, the polls, let me just say this quick. The polls initially, when they announced it, were positive. They've now turned very negative. People are figuring out this ain't a great deal.
Gentlemen, our political insiders, always interesting. Doug Schoen, Pat Caddell, John LeBoutillier. Gentlemen, thank you so much. You can continue the conversation with our political insiders on our website every Monday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern at live.foxnews.com.